I was attending a book launch a couple months ago, and there was this woman there that was just so full of energy and light. And we started talking, and she was sharing with me her journey of overcoming cancer and all of these other health ailments. And when she told me how old she was, I just about dropped to the floor. I was like, what are you doing? And when she told me, I knew I had to bring her to you because she shares some of the things you may think you already know about food and health and wellness, but super simple approaches that can totally reset how you think and how your body reacts to illness. In this interview, Elissa shares her journey of overcoming cancer, of really understanding her path to health and wellness, and how she too can help you feel better, look better, and overcome so much disease in so many ways in our lives. Get ready for a super inspiring and insightful interview with best-selling author Elissa Goodman. Elissa, welcome to the show. I'm so happy to have you. You know, when I saw you and met you at our friend's book launch, you had this energy about you. I call it the it factor, where you just literally like glow from within. I don't know if you've ever been told that, but I was like, I need to talk to
No, that is so
her.
beautiful.
And we like had this great connection, and here we are. And your story, gosh, I know, Elissa, there's someone listening right now that really needs to hear your story. So thank you so much for your time today.
Well, thank you for having me. I am always honored to be on podcasts to actually tell my story because I feel like I'm a walking, I got sick so much. I was able to get through the illnesses and then getting to where I am today. And I feel so amazing at this older age. I want everyone to feel amazing and,
Yeah.
really thrive.
And why we settle for not feeling amazing, which is something we'll talk about later. So, obviously I shared, you're really successful now. You're a holistic nutritionist.
Yes.
Yes,
Mhm.
and best-selling author, but that's not where you started. I think you had the job that I think every young girl dreams of, which was working at Vogue. And then you got this really scary diagnosis early on, right? At 30, which is early in life. So take us back, Elissa. Take us back to kind of your childhood and then how you found out about this news in at 30 and what you did about it.
Well, I was born with a low white blood cell count. So, and I also had an issue with my red blood cells. I mean, I was getting these blood shots every 28 days. I mean, I
As
remember
a kid?
as a kid. So I'm
Wow.
going to be 62. So, you know that back then no
Okay,
one
you
knew
just
what to
look
do.
so stinking amazing.
Thanks.
Like,
I mean, I
such
feel
bad
great
goals.
too. Crazy. But I mean, no one knew what to do for immunity. No one knew what to do for these things. There was no vitamin D or, there was like all it was you got to get a lot of sleep. They didn't even know about food in those days. So I was constantly sick as a kid. I was always behind the eight ball. My energy was really low. I always talk about my parents were very successful, motivated. They ran circles around me as I was a kid, a teenager, young adult. And I always was like, wow, this is so crazy. So then I started to overcompensate, for school, for sports, for socialness, for, work, everything in my life I overcompensated because I was always tired.
Yeah.
And I
Gosh,
just
that's tough.
never felt great. And I also felt stressed because I was labeled a sick kid all throughout my life. So I had this label, which I didn't really, relate to until later in my years. And I realized, wow, that did a number on my psyche. But
Sure.
I was labeled a sick kid. I wasn't that fast. I just, Alyssa's always going to be tired kind of thing. And it sucked. And
Yeah.
I didn't want to live like that. And especially I wasn't growing up in a family like that. So I did grow up in Arizona, which was a little small townish in those days. And I moved to New York after college and loved it and worked in the advertising business. And of course, was always sick there too, because I didn't, know what to do for my immune system. And a lot of coffee, a lot of bagels, a lot of sushi, a lot of late nights
Coffee and bagels. You
drinking.
can't go wrong with that. The natural energy booster. Yes.
And the city's vibrating with energy, so I'm constantly on this high. That also didn't do good things for my, central nervous system, which I didn't know at the time. But when I got married to my husband and I said, hey, I just think I need a slower paced life. I need sunshine. I need, outdoors. And we basically moved to LA, and then I got that job with Vogue magazine, which I thought was the end all. And I was selling advertising for them. But, it turns out like I had had a couple of miscarriages prior to getting diagnosed with cancer, which was a blessing that I didn't get pregnant. But realized I was getting massage, sitting upright, and they were massaging my neck and shoulder blades, the masseuse, and she felt a lymph node on my swollen one on my collarbone. And you don't usually feel stuff because my collarbone kind of sinks in. So
Yeah.
she's like, you're not supposed to have a swollen lymph node there. And I went to get it checked out. And the next thing I knew, it was Hodgkin's lymphoma. It was an early stage, but it was so shocking. And again, it was 30 years ago, practically, or 20
Yeah.
some years ago, that again, it was a little bit early, in terms of all these health issues. And at the time, the doctors were like, you're going to have to do chemo, radiation. We might
I
have
mean,
to
30
freeze you
years
up.
ago, there's been a lot of
Yeah,
advances in cancer and
totally.
nutrition and everything since
Yeah.
then.
There
Yeah.
has been. There has
Yeah.
been. And I knew it was early, and I always was kind of like into nutrition in my life because I was always looking for an answer to my, being sluggish and my digestion not working and my sinuses being a problem. There was always something going on with me, sleeping an issue. So I was kind of always investigating stuff. And I would go to this health ranch called Ranch La Puerta with my mom every so often. And that they were way ahead of their time. They were doing yoga, meditation, plant-based eating. And it
30
was
years ago, they were
coming,
way
so
ahead of their
they
time.
were
Yeah.
way ahead. Right. It was a beautiful thing, but it never really
Yeah. But what
sunk
a
in.
blessing that you had access to that back then.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did. And she was an asthmatic, so she was also always looking for things for her asthma. So, I had this early stage. I had moved to LA. There was Mrs. Gooch's before Whole Foods at the time. There was a juice place that's still around in LA called Beverly Hills Juice, which was right down the street from where I lived. There was, hiking in the mountains. There was chiropractors, yoga. And so I had seen one of the three doctors that I went to see, sat me down. It was so life changing. And he asked me three questions. He said, are you happy with your life? Do you love what you do for a living? How do you feel about yourself? And
So
I
this
was
is this
like,
was just one of your doctors.
it was
Okay.
a radiologist, oncologist at St. John's. And
I
it
don't
was,
think a lot of doctors ask those questions as
no,
they should,
they
right?
should. They
Yeah.
should get to know why you had these illnesses, why you got
The
cancer,
root
or why you
cause.
have sleep issues, or yeah. And I burst into tears, and I don't even know what happiness is. What is happy? I don't
Oh,
know about really taking care of myself. I take care of everything else, everybody else around me, but I never knew how to take care of myself. We weren't taught that. We weren't taught like it's so important to love yourself
mhm.
and to find some peace in our life, really. And then that's when the journey really began. That's when I started, juicing, and I became a vegan, and I went to therapy like crazy because I knew I had to deal with some emotional traumas that I had dealt with over the years, and we all have them,
Yeah. So Alyssa, did you also go through, excuse my interruption, did you also go through like traditional medicine for your
Yes.
cancer? Okay, so
I
how did you
chose not to
go?
do chemo. I just chose a little bit of radiation.
So did they advise you to go through chemo and you
Yes.
said no?
I said no.
That's such an interesting thing. And I know so many friends that have gone through a similar path where they were told chemo's the way and they decided to do an alternative route of medicine. We're talking like stage 4 breast cancer, and she's still alive and well today. So
No.
I just want someone to hear that there are options,
There are
that
many,
I
it
think the
just
doctors
all,
always want what's best for you,
yeah.
but to listen to, what feels true to you as well, I think is important.
That's the most important thing. You've got to tune into your intuition and your instincts. And
Mhm.
because
Always.
we're so out of body, we're taking care of everybody. We're not taking care of ourselves. We're not fueling ourselves, all of those things that have been going on. We're stressed, working too much. Everything is going
I
output,
know
not
nothing
input.
about that, Alyssa. I do not know.
I
But like you
know
said,
it's
like I
women.
know, I've listened to you, like you're a perfectionist, like you strive for this level of like success and perfection, which is impossible within drives adrenals, right?
Yeah,
Your central
totally.
nervous system, like it all affects everything. Which what we
Yeah.
have to remember as women is that how we do one thing really does affect everything.
Oh my God, so much so. I mean, now what I know today, I wish I had known then, but of course I didn't. But I'm glad I know what I know today because it's changed my life in every way. But
Yeah.
I had an energy healer years ago say to me, your central nervous system is vibrating. And I couldn't feel, you can't feel your central nervous system. But the stress that I was under, the perfectionism that,
Yeah.
driving myself into the ground was causing my central nervous system to be in overdrive, my adrenals to be taxed. After radiation, like a little bit of radiation, I got hypothyroidism because they radiated my thyroid.
Oh,
Then after my first daughter, I got Hashimoto's, I got celiac. I mean, the
oh
list
my
is
goodness.
endless. I've had everything almost.
But look
I
at
just
you
haven't
now.
had diabetes. I think I've had everything
Hey, knock
else.
on wood, sister. Knock
Yeah.
on wood. So, there's this cliche that says, or this quote, make it what you want. It says, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. Now, Alyssa, no one wishes cancer on anybody or all the ailments that you've had to go through. But when you look back and you connect the dots, you're living in such a place that I see of passion and joy and purpose and connection. And, if the cliche was true, right, that you've gone through this because you're serving so many other men and women in such a bigger way because you have had this revelation in your own life, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my God. Amen to all of that. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, it can
uh,
sound so glitchy and
I
like, oh,
know.
Carrie, that's easy for you to say, but I know I've been through my own hardships. And you know what? When we make it through those things and we use it as our stepping stool and our megaphone to help other people, I just think that's where we really plug into service and inspired living, right? It's like, hey, I
Oh,
made, as they
totally.
say, the message is the mess, but you know what? We have to work our way through it. So tell me, how did you work your way through it? So you got diagnosed with all of these different things and ailments. Like, what was it for you that actually got you to where you are right now, which is best-selling author, sought out nutritionist. You have cleanses all over the place that people want. So what happened? Like, what was the
Well,
next thing for you?
I mean, the next thing was my husband passed away of cancer at 45. So
Oh,
that was
man.
my second wake up call, or
And
maybe
you had
third.
children, right? So you
I
were a
had
single
two
mom.
girls, 10 and 7, and
Oh,
I went back to school to get certified in Eastern Western nutrition. I did a 2-year program. I learned about trauma. I learned about all different healing modalities. I didn't realize how
there
much
was
I
some
was going to
serious
love
trauma
it.
to be healed
Yeah.
there too.
Yeah. I didn't realize how much I was going to love this industry. I just went back for my own, satisfaction to get myself healthy, to make sure my girls didn't realize that they were going to get cancer because they had 2 parents who had cancer.
Wow. Yeah.
So, and I mean, it just like after that, I was so passionate, a little bit obsessed with, because I
The
started to feel
perfectionist
so
comes
good.
out. Yes.
Right. I started to feel good. I started to make these changes in my life. I started to realize how important it was to love myself and to find this peace and to eat better and to sleep better and to, all the things that everybody knows out there that we need to do, but we just sometimes need that push. We need
Yeah.
us,
We say, I'll do it later. I'll start
yeah.
Monday.
Yeah, and then you don't, and then you get something gets diagnosed, or you get pushed to the wall, and you stop sleeping, or there's a lot of things that happen to us. We get anxiety and depression, or whatever it is, or hormone issues, and then they're like, "Oh my God, I really got to change now."
Hey, Alyssa, for
Um,
someone who's like going through it right now, or they're realizing they're in a place of constant fatigue and stress, and you also, again, reading up about you, like fear. I know your husband lived in a lot of fear, and fear can be the thing that can be like the most toxic poison that we drink, and living in that fear. What were, like, if there were 3 things that you did or that you discovered that helped you make this quantum leap in your health and your mind? I mean, I want to know, like, was it a certain food? Was it a certain practice? Was it a juice? Like, give it to us. Like, if they were, and I know you have a book, you have so many amazing resources. By the way, your Instagram is not only beautiful, it's like, I love the tips and all of the things that you do to help serve others. It's just amazing. But yeah, give me those, maybe if there were 3 things that we could
yeah.
focus on right now.
There are a lot more, but I will give you 3 because
Okay.
yeah, juicing for me since I was diagnosed with cancer has been life changing. Green juices, no fruit. Like nowadays, I do cucumber, celery, lemon, ginger, just simple ones. I throw it in the juicer. drink it fresh. You get vitamins, minerals, antioxidants, phytonutrients at a cellular level. I think that's been one of my biggest energy producing, like anti-aging,
And it's anti-inflammatory, isn't it too?
it lowers inflammation in your intestines.
Okay.
I mean, it is such
Now,
a
why
beautiful
no
thing.
fruit? Is it just because the sugar?
Yeah.
Okay.
There's just you see a fruit, you see a juice at Erewhon and it's 16 ounces and it has apple in it. It'll be 18 grams of sugar.
Wow.
So that's a lot of sugar.
Yeah.
You only want 25 added grams of sugar a day. So I just try to do so little sugar, and that was drilled into me when I had the cancer.
Yeah.
So the juicing also has depleted my sugar cravings. It just hydrates you. It does so much for you.
Yeah, it just feels good.
That's the first thing. The
Okay.
second thing is just eating, more plant-based. I'm really 75-25, I would say 75% plant-based, 25% animal. I feel as we age, we still need amino acids. I need the animal protein to feel grounded, because you could tell hyper, driven, like I
Yes.
need groundedness. So the vegan lifestyle didn't do it for me. So, but there's so much fiber, there's so much vitamins and minerals and nutrients in a plant-based eating or plant-rich diet that is so fabulous for, just anti-cancer, anti-aging, all of the above, energy producing. The last thing is going to be a little bit wonky and weird, probably for your audience. Maybe you've talked about this, but about 4 years ago, I did my first plant journey with psilocybin.
Let's
And
talk about that. Share that.
I know this is a little bizarre, but I had a little bit of insomnia. I was trying to heal my hypo and Hashimoto's at the time, and go off my medication. So what happened was I started to get insomnia because my thyroid numbers got a little out of whack. So I ended up doing a journey and with psilocybin with a shaman. And I saw so much in that journey about my history, about being labeled as a sick kid. I lived in fear of another health issue coming down the road. Anytime, I was always looking over my shoulder. I was constantly on edge. I was so worried about my girls getting sick. So I never could find that peace and calm in my life that I was searching for. I meditated, I journal, I do yoga, I do all those things, but I wasn't able to find it.
Yeah.
So I did the journey and I saw that everything was going to be okay, that there was still shit that's going to happen to me, but I was going to be able to overcome it. Like I can avoid it, but I definitely wasn't going to live in fear.
Yes.
So the fear was causing all of my health issues at the present time. So also I asked the question myself, do I love myself? And that was huge. I was like, I don't know what loving myself is. I don't even know what that looks like or feels like. That was the biggest epiphany I've ever had.
Now, what is the name of that? It's so funny, Elissa, and I know there's no accidents. The conversations I'm having with girlfriends right now, and other peers about that experience and what plant-based medicine can do. I mean, I know it's a really big topic and it's going to only become more and more in the forefront because there's so many elements that can really help. But there's a specific name for that journey? What is it?
Well, it is psilocybin. It's mushrooms,
Right.
There are a lot of plants out there. There's ayahuasca,
Ayahuasca.
there's
Yeah.
there's psilocybin, there's, all these heart openers that people are doing. It's very popular in LA.
Yeah. It's very LA. Yes. But you also want to make sure you're with someone that can guide you through that experience.
Yes.
I've heard it's a lot.
It's a lot. I did a bunch of them, a handful of them, and there was good ones and not good ones, but the shamans, they are so wonderful because they help you get through the dark periods of the journey. But what's so great about those dark periods, they're just like your dark episodes that you've had in your life that you overcome, and you find such inspiration and you get to let go of these stories that you were telling yourself that might be true or might not be true, but your subconscious believes them. All of this stuff weighs us down, and it really does down-regulate your immune system. Yeah. So when I talk to my cancer clients or my autoimmune people, there's always a story there that they believe that happened and that they can't get past. Yeah. And they just can't seem to get to the other side to live a life of freedom, self-love, just
Yeah.
really get their energy back and feel like they can heal from anything.
With inspired living, we talk so much about purpose and living in your zone of genius. And I think it really comes down to loving yourself and looking at the stories that you've been told or the stories that you have orchestrated, based on your childhood and your trauma. And listening to you, I have a 6-year-old, so I'm so like conscious of her experience because she's in that imprint period.
Totally.
And just those labels, like, we don't realize what calling someone the sick kid all the time will do as an imprint as we get older, and we just carry that with us. It's just, I find human behavior and the mind so fascinating. And so I'm digging this conversation with you, but I want to shift gears a little bit. When you kind of figured this out, Elissa, you had this aha and you're like, oh my gosh, this experience and this journey and the juicing and all the things. Now, it's one thing to have that epiphany and to have that awakening for yourself,
Yeah.
but you have helped so many other people by building a successful business. And that's not always easy for people to do. So at Inspired Living, it's what we're all about, is helping people be seen, be known, and be paid for their brilliance. But take me back to that time when you're like, I think I'm going to start a coaching business. I think I'm going to become a holistic nutritionist. And oh, by the way, maybe I'll write a book. Like, where did you start?
I got really lucky. I graduated from
You
that
didn't
2
get lucky.
I feel lucky. I feel blessed because, when you do find your passion and your purpose, how the doors open for you. Like,
If
when
you
you show
follow, if
up,
you're stepping through them,
yeah, if
yes.
you're
Yeah.
stepping through them, because I finished that program. Cafe Gratitude moved down from San Francisco to LA, opened up their first Cafe Gratitude. My friend Lisa Bombright, who is one of the owners of Cafe Gratitude, is a good friend of mine. She said, come put together a cleanse for us. I did that for 4.5 years. And a year after that, I put together M Cafe's cleanse for 6.5 years. I handheld those cleansers all those years, all those weeks, every week.
That's some great advertising.
I got to find out their ailments. I worked with functional doctors. I was so fascinated with it all. And when people felt better after doing the cleanse, it was just like, whoa, like food can really be healing. And also I could help somebody, just encourage and support them to get through to the other side and believe in themselves. Oh, it was like magic.
Yes.
And then I just realized, I wanted to tell the story about my journey with cancer because it was so different than my husband's. And also it was the time when this book, Radical Remission, actually it hadn't come out quite yet, but it was a book that I read by gynecologist, had talked about the subconscious and how we operate 90% out of the subconscious, and our trauma is very imprinted, and how we potentially could get sick later on. And I don't know, there was just so much I was learning, and I was like, wow, people really need to realize that cancer is not a death sentence, and that it can be a wake-up call in your life, or autoimmune or diabetes, or any of these things we get are wake-up calls, and you can get past them.
Yes.
So I wanted people to know, and then as time went on, now I'm writing a book. It's called Anti-Aging Hacks, because in the last 4 years,
cancer hacks. So what can we expect in that book? Is it just for people who are battling cancer, or for someone going through cancer?
Oh no, because it's all about just any kind. Cancer is just a health issue. So it could be related to any health issue you're dealing with. Cancer is just, it's just it could be an autoimmune issue. It could be diabetes, like I said. It could be just chronic fatigue.
Anything that's attacking your health, really.
Yes. Yeah. Totally. We all have microscopic cancer cells in our body. We're all a bit toxic. The book's about lowering your toxic loads and building your immune system and taking care of yourself, and finding your purpose and your passion. And, everything changes when I'm preaching to the choir here, when that happens.
Yeah.
And aging is the same thing. Anti-aging. I've learned so much since that book came out, with my doctors, and how to read blood work and how to get to the root cause of health issues and really get someone to a thriving place. And I feel better now at 61 than I did when I was in my 20s. So I could feel this way.
Sign me up.
Other people can feel this way, right? Yes. Like, you don't have to age and think, oh, I'm going to have sleep issues, I'm going to have hormone issues, I'm going to gain weight, and I'm not going to be able to lose it around the middle, right? Yeah. I mean, I don't have any of those issues. things
You do
creep
not. I
in.
have seen you. You do not have those issues.
I
No.
mean, I'm sure I might get those issues. I'm sure that, but I know how
Or
to
not. I
counteract
think you
them.
figured it out. So, Alyssa, once you got your juices in all of these amazing places, I love Cafe Gratitude. What was next for you? Again, I'm thinking of the person who like has this passion and they're starting to put it out there. Did you start doing media interviews? Did you build a website? Like again, you've built a really prominent brand and people follow and buy your cleanses all over the world. So again, like take me through a couple of the things that you did in the beginning
Yeah.
in growing the business that you felt like, God, that was a really good move.
Well, it was, doing those cleanses was the brilliant move. And I didn't know anything about cleansing. So that was what was really fun. I
That's
did have
what's really amazing.
I had a marketing advertising background. So I could easily put those programs together. And then I knew how to sell myself a lot. So I did, go on social
Huge part.
media. And
Yep.
then I started writing that book. I knew that I needed a book. I did know that. Like I knew there was a story to be told.
And how
You
did you
got-
go about it? Did you hire someone to help you? Did you
yeah.
just start writing one day? What did that look like?
I did have an I had two assistants in that time period that were amazing writers. So they were helping me with my blog. And at the time it was Facebook, not Instagram, but
Yeah.
the blog was a big deal, all of that and newsletters. And so
I
they
think
were
they're
helping me.
still a big deal. I think
Yeah,
they're still really important in building
yeah,
connection and community. Yeah.
totally.
Yeah.
And we were writing, we kind of started writing about my cancer hacks in those blogs, and it just all came together. One of those girls did help me be a ghostwriter for my book, which I was so lucky about because she knew me so well. She was with me like 4 years, and I had another assistant 6.5 years. So, and I have a girl right now who's been with me 3 years, 3.5 years, who was my intern who grew into a writer, and she got her master's in nutrition. So I don't know. I just really, again, feel
You
lucky that
attract good people. You have good energy.
I
Well,
have
and
good
do
energy,
I
good
dare
people.
say, Alyssa, it was consistent messaging over time that
Yeah,
helped build your business?
yeah, absolutely.
That's so good. Reminder, right? That nothing happens overnight. You need to share your story. You need to give people ways to connect with you. You need to be good at selling yourself. And I think that's so important. I was leading a training earlier today with some of our clients, and the feedback was, I now feel confident in putting myself out there and that like I am an authority and I do have something valuable to share. And I'm like, if you don't believe that, how am I going to believe in investing in you and taking that next step? So that to me is so important coming from that place of like humble excellence. Like, look,
Yeah.
I know I can help you, and I'm not going to stop sharing my message because there's people out there that need, Alyssa, what you do right now. So let's talk about that. For someone who's like, okay, give me the cleanse, give me the book, tell me more about how I can connect with Alyssa. How do they do that? What's the best way?
Well, I'd say the best way is through Instagram because I do a lot on there.
She has a nice Instagram.
Oh
Yes, you
my God.
do.
So, and also my website, I do every week, I do a nutrition tip, I do a recipe. Between the website and the newsletter and, Instagram, I really share a lot of information because like I said earlier in this interview, I'm a little obsessed with like getting people healthy and helping people in any way I can. And like anybody can reach out to me via email, through my website or through Instagram or DM, because I love answering questions, helping them without having them do a session. I do Zoom sessions all over the world. So I do a lot of those during the week, but I would say, I'm really, really accessible
Yeah.
because I don't do this for the money, really. I have to say, I just do it because I love it. And I do feel that everybody needs, I mean, especially now with COVID being the last 2 years have been hell for a lot of people. So it couldn't be a more opportune time to really take charge of your health and also your mindset and also really honoring who you are and trying to find something in your life that you love to do. And you can't do it without
Yeah.
energy behind you, right? Without mental clarity.
It is so true. I'm going to quote my mama who always said, do what you love and the money will come. And I will tell you, there is nothing more true than that. So, definitely going to make sure that we can connect with you. Definitely go to Alyssa's Instagram, DM her, reach out. And I will say, like, I'm not paid to tell you how amazing her cleanses are, but I tried it and
Thank
I've
you.
done cleanses. And I think it's like we think of like the cabbage soup cleanse, right? It's nothing like that. By the way, your bars, the broth, the salads. Like I felt so like sustained and satisfied, but I also felt like really healthy. And even though it was just for a few days, it got me thinking about everything else I was eating. And sometimes we just need that reset, right?
Yeah.
So if someone wants to access your cleanses or to look at some recipes, that's on the Instagram, or is that on your
That's
website?
both. And the
All
website,
places, my
yeah.
friend, all
If you
places.
don't live in LA, there's a 7-day cleanse that you can download. Anybody listening to your podcast can reach out to me via email, Elissa Goodman, and I could actually send them the 7-day. Okay. So I would love, it's for sale on the website, but I would love to offer that to your listeners. And in LA, I do deliver twice in a week, Sunday for Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday for Thursday, Friday, fresh food. I've been so lucky with the amount of cleansers and the changes that I get to see in people with eating that way.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm
mean, I'm sure it
such
helps with
a foodie.
everything, skin,
Yeah.
right? Hair, like just
Digestion,
overall beauty. Yeah.
sleep, anti-aging. Again, like
Buzzword for
I'm a
me,
foodie.
anti-aging.
Yeah. I'm a foodie, so the
Yeah.
food has to taste good. I mean, that there's a lot of love, a lot of energy that goes into that food. That's one thing you don't find in food delivery services because they're
Yeah.
so massive.
Right.
Mine is so small, I probably won't be able to get too big. But because of that, I really need food to be really, really tasty. And I want people to keep coming back and loving it. So
Yes, I get it. And it is amazing. So thank you for that. All right. We're going to wrap it up with the question I always ask, which is, what does inspired living mean to you?
inspired living to me means really embracing self-love, not in an ego way, but in a just, I'm really the most important person on the planet. And I always have to preference not in an ego way because it has no ego,
Yeah.
energy behind it, but to be able to know that it's like I have a purpose, I have a passion for me, and I feel good about being here in this present time, on the planet. I mean, that sounds like really woo-woo, but that's what it
It
means.
doesn't. I actually just like right now, wherever you are, listening, watching, like put your hand on your heart, take a big deep breath, and say, I am the most important person on the planet. Because if you don't take care of you, how in the world are you going to fulfill your greatest vision? How are you going to take care of your family? How are you going to leave the legacy that you want to leave? It starts with you. And so, Elissa, thank you so much for your time and for the love that you literally pour out. I mean, you just exude love, and I just appreciate what you're doing and the tips and the hacks that you're sharing. And I can't wait for the next book, Anti-Aging Hacks. By the way, do we have an ETA on when that's coming out?
It's probably 2023. So
Stay
definitely
tuned.
working on it, but
Stay
yeah,
tuned.
stay tuned. Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much, Elissa. I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you.
You've just heard another uplifting episode of Inspired Living with Carrie Murphy, the podcast. I hope you loved it. If you haven't yet, please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. And if you'd like to know more about Inspired Living or to get your hands on many of our awesome free resources, such as the Be Studio Ready Guide, simply visit us at inspiredliving.tv/podcast. Remember, your vision is your destiny, and we're here to help you bring it to life. Join me again next week for another extraordinary episode.